What's up, fellow internet peeps, gaming peeps, people that are interested in the gaming gospel, don't want to dip their toes in it, don't necessarily know what it is. It's your host with the boast. I am just rhyming things because I'm going off the hip. It's my first full, I was going to say full feature film. I'm not a director, but I am directing this video. In particular, I'm going to be directing you to take a look at these new changes in Battlefield 6. So anyways, as you see me fumble fuck my way around this airfield, trying to figure out where the jets are going to spawn, because I'm a dirty little spawn camper, as you can see. There's a new change going on with particular the fighter jet that I wanted to share today and kind of give my own 2 cents and kind of pose a question for you guys to leave a like or comment at the bottom of the video, and to kind of see, where the general sentiment is at. I'm not sure who this is going to reach, if it's going to reach, 1, 10, maybe 5 people. I don't know. I went high and then low. But anyways, this is particularly kind of interesting for the fighter jet. As you can see, yes, bow to your sensei. We have air-to-air missiles now in the fighter jet by default. And these bad boys are pretty much set and forget. You lock onto something, you take 2 shots, and you essentially kill whatever you're locked onto. They're kind of busted, to be honest with you, just because the first missile that you launch defeats the flare, and I think has a proximity fuse where you can actually do some damage, and the second one is just essentially cleanup. So anything that's in the air and it's locked on by that air-to-air missile is completely toast. It's kind of insane to see. Now, some background for me, I am, I'm just now getting into jets. I'm just getting into flying, in particular for Battlefield 6. But again, I think this is badass, but I definitely do see the other side of the coin, where because of the fact that it's 2 missiles, you can launch them simultaneously. One of them defeats countermeasures, and the other one does the cleanup work. It makes flying kind of frustrating, and/or you kind of have to play your cards right and make sure your team is really coordinated at looking at the air. In my games, in particular, if you watch any of my streams, I do stream on Twitch. A lot of my teammates don't like looking at the air. They think, the metal birds are, gods of their own right, and they shouldn't touch them. And they don't like to employ any type of countermeasures for that. I am not those people. But again, it kind of demands you to focus up when there's a fighter jet up in the air, specifically if you are an air vehicle player. Just because of how damaging these air-to-air missiles are. If you're essentially on your side of the map, particularly for most of the game, and trying to keep the other team's air vehicles out at arm's reach. Wow, sorry, I can't speak. But out of arm's reach, essentially, you can dictate the flow of the fight. You can dictate pretty much the flow of the game if you know how to competently use this. Now, I'm no skilled or experienced pilot myself, but definitely in the hands of a very, very competent pilot who can make use of all 3 all 3 weapon systems on the fighter jet, including the precision bomb, which is notoriously hard to kind of master because of the delay. Now you're looking at problems, like real big mother effing problems in the air. And that's the question I kind of want to pose. Now, this is me being on the receiving end of this. As you can see, I go to try to lock on for my own sake, but I'm already getting locked, and I don't know it yet, but it's by their fighter jet, and they already launched 2 missiles out my way. I received no incoming, just locked. And it was so quick and so fast, I couldn't really react to it. And even if I did, I would have been dead. So, again, it kind of poses the question of, these are a great, tool to actually put back into the inventory. And the fighter jet actually has a place in, being offensive and being more involved in terms of, you know, the team role and the dynamic, because it really depended on the skill of the pilot before this was implemented, to line up your jet correctly, to get all of your bullets to land on those air-to-air vehicles correctly, and be able to do some real damage. Now you include this into the mix, and it's just as easy as playing an infantry player. And that's the question I really want to pose: is this a good change specifically for the aviation community and specifically towards the flow of conquests and the fights and the vehicles in particular? I think I think a lot of people would say that conquest definitely is about resource management. It's definitely about making sure your players are alive as long as they can with the vehicles they got. And as you can see there, really quick side tangent, the missile can be defeated. If you have ever been locked on and get really low trying to like use terrain masking in a way, you can defeat the missile. In that particular angle, I think may have been just the combination of where he was at and the angle in which I took the shot. But he defeated it. But it's 9 times out of 10 you're using this, you're pretty much going to land your shot and going to be able to take out whatever you're locked onto. And so going back to what I'm saying, um, it's really all about resource management and being coordinated in conquest. And now you include this into the mix. And does it help with actually kind of making Battlefield feel more Battlefield, or is this more so appealing to the casual player? And to give my honest 2 cents on that, honest OrteezusChrist certified 2 cents, not a penny more, not a penny less, but 2 cents nonetheless, is that it's 50-50. So as you can see there, you can shoot missiles, they can miss, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. You can even shoot at ground targets with this thing. If a target is painted, you can line it up perfectly with that ground target and kind of help out your attack jet in that sense, in that regard. But again, does this trivialize that skill gap that I mentioned before? It really was about, you know, were you able to fly your jet correctly and be able to outsmart the enemy player correctly in order to get the kill or make the play that you needed with that particular asset in the field. And so with this, I do think that maybe, just maybe, this might be a tad bit overpowered. I think there definitely needs to be some tweaks and adjustments going into the future. And here would be my #1 suggestion. If I can launch 2 of them almost simultaneously, just like how I just showed right there in that previous clip and the clips before that, I do think that maybe there needs to be a delay between when I fire missile 1 and missile 2. So missile 1, I wait, missile 2, and that kind of gives maybe a small window of opportunity for either their wingman to come in and assist to get the guy off of his back, or maybe AA to kind of coordinate to look at the jet, or whatever the case may be. But I do think there probably needs to be some type of delay in terms of how you employ it, just because it's so fast. And as we already covered, 2 missiles essentially defeats the flares and guarantees the hit, taking that particular asset out of the field, and pretty much just making the air fight just about who can get up in the air faster and who can lock onto targets the quickest. And then the second thing I would say that I would implement would be, instead of them being active radar missiles, meaning, you know, it's got a lock, you take a shot and then you kind of just forget about it. They're more like semi-active radar missiles, and these were a real thing back in the day. I think there's some countries that still implement it. I'm not 100% sure, but essentially what you're gonna do, or essentially what a semi-active radar missile would do, would be you would fire it, but then you would have to still make sure your jet was pointed towards the target in order for the missile to follow all the way up into where it's going to impact. It's kind of similar to a tow missile, not really a tow missile. It's more like there's still a lock that's required, but nonetheless, I do think maybe that needs to be put into effect just to make sure that it's evenly balanced. And there's some, I wouldn't say semblance of skill, but definitely a skill gap and or barrier to be considered. Now, I'm not advocating for, people to be absolute sweats and you can only fly the jet if you're skilled or anything like that. I'm more so just talking about the general consensus. What would make the most sense? What would make the most fun out of the engagement, the most rewarding? Because I will admit, even though it was pretty badass to, use the this missile, it almost kind of felt, like it wasn't really rewarding like a strafing run would be, or using a precision bomb would be, if you're the attack jet, or even using an AGM would be. Um, and that to me kind of takes the fun out of it after a while. And again, it kind of like, yes, do you get a lot of kills? Do you, help out your team? For sure. But um, I do like games that kind of reward your time in learning the mechanics and being able to implement them correctly as you progress and get better and play the game a little bit more. So you're going to see here, I just noticed that jet. I overshot completely. This is an instance where you wouldn't use the missile. But as you see there, he popped his flare, but it still managed to hit him. So all I had to do was shoot the second one, and it's just a cleanup. And I didn't have the second one loaded in at the time. So with that being said, viewer, I'd like to propose a question. Does this change increase the fun, or does it increase the frustration when it comes to actually flying in the jet if you're a flyer yourself, or if you fly any type of other air vehicle having to go against this? What are your 2 cents about it? I'd like to know in the comment section below. If you took your time to actually watch the whole 12 minutes and 30 seconds of this video, I really do appreciate it. If you really liked the video and what we covered today, go ahead and leave a like and a comment. That'll really help me out, and it also boosts the algorithm, as you know YouTube is famous for. Y'all have a good rest of your day. See you.